Well, thank you, Holly, for leading the meditation last week while I was getting some rest. And that meditation, that sutra, is kind of leading us into a whole series now. So last week, the sutra was 217 in our Yoga Sutras. And I don't think this is the first introduction of these ideas of Purusha and Prakriti, but we're going to kind of go into what's the nature of reality? That's really what we're getting into. And this sutra that we're going to talk about today, which is 218, there's so much juicy goodness here. But let me read it to you first, and then we'll kind of peel back the layers of what it has to say. It says, the scene is of the nature of the gunas, which we've talked about previously. Illumination, activity, and inertia. So those are the three gunas: illumination, activity, and inertia. So the scene is the nature of the gunas and consists of the elements and sense organs, whose purpose is to provide both experiences and liberation to the Purusha. So Purusha is the seer. It's the part of ourselves that is true. And the Prakriti is outside of us, the stuff we see, that confuses us and makes us think it's actually the truth. So I'm going to read the translation a little bit because he says some really clear things here. On page 104, if you're reading along, at the bottom, it says, nature is here to give you experience and ultimately to liberate you from its bondage. Prakriti is here to give us experience and ultimately liberate us from its bondage. Even if people do not want to be liberated, it educates them gradually so that one day they will come to feel, I'm tired of the whole thing. I don't want it anymore. I've had enough. When will we feel this way? Only after we've gotten enough kicks and burns. The purpose of Prakriti, nature, is to give us those knocks. So we should never condemn Prakriti. So when I read this, a couple of things came to mind. Earlier this week I went to an event called Wine, Women, and Shoes. It was really fun. I went with a good friend. It's just a big festive thing, and it's kind of all of Prakriti, right? It's like they're selling you stuff, they're celebrating beautiful shoes, you're drinking great wine, you're in a beautiful space, and it's awesome. And if you have too much of that, the next day you're going to regret it. Right? So there's too much wine, have a headache. Buy too many things, get your credit card bill, and have regret. Like, there's just all of this stuff that we want, that we think is going to give us pleasure. And then nature teaches us a lesson. It's like, yeah, not that. That's not actually the nature of what will give us true happiness. And there's lots of examples of this. I'm going to read a little bit more. And let us work through all of the wise things he says here. He says on page 105 at the bottom, all life is a passing show. If we want to hold it even for a minute, we feel tension. Right, so all of the things that come that want us to reach out and grab it, if we try and hold on, there's, at a minimum, there's tension, right? There might not be grieving or like big loss, but there's like a gripping that creates a tension. Like, I just want this to last, right? It might be an ice cream cone. on page 107, he continues. He says, when all the entanglements tie you down, when you see you have no room to move about any longer, then you will realize the truth of their words. So I'm going to finish the reading of what he says here with page 109. He says, if we don't want to listen, nature teaches us her lesson by putting us into a tight corner. She binds us tight to reveal her nature, so we will no longer cling to that. In other words, she liberates us. After liberation, although we are still in nature, we are no longer bound by it. It is as if we acquire nice, thick rubber gloves which allow us to touch any voltage without damage. A liberated person can come into the world and be useful to it, but is not affected by it. So this last sentence, I think, is like the eye-opener for me. All of those other messages kind of lead me into a like, well, why bother mode? Right? So like, okay, so maybe we should just go sit in a cave. And then there's no temptation and we can just ascend into this place of all-knowing and freedom and true joy. But what this one says is a liberated person can come into the world and be useful, but not affected by it. And for me, these sutras are teaching us that more than how to escape, but how to be with and be okay. And even offer something that has value. And I think what this sutra also says is we kind of have to like get all tangled up in stuff and learn the hard way. Right? We have to get the thing we think we want and then realize it's not that. And I remember I got a BMW at one point. And it was orange and it was fun and it had seat heaters and it was fast and all the things that our culture tells us we want in a car. And I really liked it. I sent a picture to my mom and dad the day I got it, like standing in front of my car. I was like, oh, look, I got my orange BMW. I've worked so hard my whole life. I finally achieved this thing. And then after the warranty ran out, I got my first bill for like what it takes to take care of that thing. It was like, like an oil change is like $3,000. I exaggerate. But it's like that. We think we want something and then we get it and we're like, okay. Now that I've had that, I realize it's not all that. And so there's these little lessons, but there's the big lesson version of that too. Right? We're all aging. None of us are getting any younger, and we're all at some level attached to our youth. We hold on, we buy the creams. We do everything we can to avoid that. And what if we just let go of the clinging and we're okay with what is? So I like this sutra because it's not saying you should never have those experiences. It's saying those experiences are what lead us to the true nature of reality. We have to go through it. So it's not like beat yourself up because you're not enlightened. It's like, oh, haha, here we go. This is like part of the path. It's all part of the path to liberation. So we're going to meditate on the path. And I'm going to invite you, wherever you are, to create a way of being that's supportive of mindfulness. And once you're kind of situated in your space, if it's okay to close your eyes, go ahead and close your eyes. And sense into your foundation. So you're on something. Sense the support of the thing you're on. And give yourself permission to relax a little bit, to soften. Notice what your hands are doing, how they're resting, and create them intentionally. So you're on purpose, even in stillness. Bring your attention to your breath. Anchor into what's real about your breath. So there's a feeling, maybe there's a little sound. Cultivating present moment awareness, just what's right here. Notice a sense of peace and ease in what's right here. Cultivate that. So there's a conscious allowing of just ease. To mind something that has a grip on you. It might be small or material, like something that happened in the last day or so. It might be a longer running resistance or resentment. Allow yourself to conjure it for a few moments, even if it brings up some tension. And notice the physical expression of that right here. So maybe your mouth tightened or your breath shifted a little bit. witness your experience just from the thought that grips you. What if you let go of the thing that's gripping? That prakriti, that thing might still be there, but your attachment to the impact, to the feeling it creates. Soften that grip. Come back to your breath as a way to disconnect. Patanjali calls it a discrimination. Viveka, seeing what's happening but not being of it. Maybe there's a half smile of recognition. There I go again. Back into your breath. And notice the purity of the space, the open space. Yourself to bring your mind's eye into your interior space, just sensing into what's inside. Maybe there's just a sense of light. sense of what the yogis call santosha, contentment. Not passion, not pain, just santosha. Time, kind of a nice